Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you. Good evening. Happy Saturday night, and welcome to the Doc Watkins Show. I'm your host, Doc Watkins. I'm joined by Brandon Guerra on the drums, Mike Porter on the bass. Our special guest tonight is saxophonist, educator, and composer, the great Jim Waller. We'll get to the music in just a minute, but first, let's have a look at the Jazz Texas news. Disease investigators have released a list of places where COVID-19 exposures have happened in Las Vegas, including several popular hotel casinos. They also released a list of places in Vegas where herpes and chlamydia are spreading, which is pretty much every hotel and casino in the entire town. Actress Halle Berry seemed to confirm she's dating singer Van Hunt when she posted an Instagram photo of herself wearing a t-shirt bearing his name. Read all about this in the latest issue of Nobody Cares Weekly. Television personalities Christina Onstead and Ant Onstead are splitting up after a year of welcoming their first child together. "Oh my gosh, that's absolutely horrible news," said absolutely no one. Drew Barrymore's new talk show premiered this week. The show is geared for people who don't find Kelly Clarkson's talk show quite boring enough. And finally, in sports, Fox Sports Ohio has apologized for mistakenly showing the city of Pittsburgh's skyline during a game that actually took place in Cincinnati between the Reds against the Chicago White Sox. Meanwhile, the Pittsburgh Pirates apologized to anyone who's mistaken them for being a real Major League Baseball team. And that's it for the Jazz Texas News. Well, we'll get to the music in just a moment, but first, how about a toast? Thank you so much to everyone who tuned in to the Doc Watkins Show tonight, especially those of you who have ordered food and drinks from the Jazz Texas Bar and Kitchen. We're open now 5 nights a week, every Tuesday through Saturday. You can pick it up right here from our front door, or we'll deliver right to your front door. So check it out, jazztexas.com. Here's to many more years of Jazz Texas music, food, drinks, and good times. Cheers, everybody. We'd like to start things off with an old American songbook standard entitled, "There Is No Greater Love." Jazz, Brandon Guerra on the drums, and Mike Porter on the bass. To start things off on a Saturday night, there is no greater love. Thank you very much, everybody. We want to give a big shout out to our production team, Caitlin Hill on the audio, and on the video production, Mr. Chris Science. With Wizard Broadcasting. Thank you, Chris. Also, a big shout out to KRTU 91.7 FM, our media sponsor, the greatest jazz station on planet Earth. Make sure and tune in to KRTU 91.7 FM on your way to work in the morning and on the way home from work in the afternoon. Or if you're working the graveyard shift, that's the way home from work in the morning and the way on the work in the evening. In any case, make sure and tune in to KRTU. Also, we want to let you all know that we have a brand new gig out just this year in 2020 during the great pandemic. Our first live concert in the last 6 months is going to be happening on October 10th at the AT&T Center. We'll be playing at the Bud Light Courtyard stage outdoors for a socially distanced concert up to about 800 people, and we can't wait to play for y'all out there. You can get tickets at attcenter.com. Make sure and check that out and come and see us on October 10th. We're going to have a great time. It's going to be me on piano and Brandon on drums, Mike on bass, and Jason Galbraith, who we heard from on Tuesday night and Friday night of this week on the tenor saxophone. So we're going to have a great time. Make sure and check that out. Moving along in the music, here's a tune entitled A Nightingale Sang in Berkeley Square. That's Mike Porter on the bass, Brandon Guerra on the drums. That's a tune called "The Nightingale Sang in Berkeley Square." Thank you very much, y'all. Well, my special guest tonight has been in the music business for over 4 decades as an arranger, composer, producer, performer, and recording engineer. He is the coordinator of music industry studies and the director of the University of the Incarnate Word Jazz Ensemble in San Antonio, Texas. He's a brilliant saxophonist, and he has a brand new record out. It's Smokin. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the bandstand and to the program, Mr. Jim Waller. Jim, welcome to the show. Thank you so much for joining us tonight.
Oh, thank you for inviting me. Great to be here.
Let's play a tune and then we'll talk, okay?
Sounds good.
Take it away, man.
All right. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3.
That's a tune called Have You Met Miss Jones, featuring Jim Waller, our special guest on the tenor saxophone. Jim, welcome to the program. Thank you for joining me tonight.
Oh, so glad to be here.
We're so glad. Jim, grab your mic.
Oh.
There you go. That way we can talk and have a little conversation and talk about the music and everything, because I want to talk about your new record that is coming out. It's already available, I know, online. It's going to be available for sale pretty soon. But the record is called Bucket List. Why did you choose that title?
Because it had been on my bucket list for years to make the record.
What had been on your bucket list? To make any record, or this particular record?
This particular record, and I wanted to, I've been writing arrangements for more years than I want to say. And I wanted to get them played by wonderful players in a great studio with a stellar engineer. And all of that together was kind of my bucket list. And things just came together. Finally, I was able to get that done.
So we're going to pull up a clip here in just a minute, and folks can hear what the record sounds like and get a little sneak peek. But how did you get into arranging for a big band?
Well, that happened pretty early in my life. I was about 22, I think, and I was watching television, and I saw the Count Basie band play. And I'd never heard a big band before. I hadn't heard one live, and I really hadn't heard any recordings. And I was just so taken with it that I decided right then and there that's what I wanted to do, was to learn how to write, compose, and arrange for a big band.
At the age of 22?
At the age of 22.
So what did you do from there?
Well, I went out and bought the only arranging book that existed at the time, called The Professional Composer Arranger by Russell Garcia. Wonderful composer arranger, by the way. And I bought a Count Basie album, since I was so thrilled by Count Basie. The only one I could find was called Basieland. And it's still available now, and it's a great album. And I can say that I learned maybe half of what I know about writing just listening to that over and over again. Wow. And I discovered when I read the credits and everything that every tune on there was composed and arranged by a guy named Billy Byers, who I'd never heard of before. Amongst arrangers, he's quite famous. He's just one of the greatest ever. And all his stuff is in the Library of Congress now.
Wow.
And he did tons of stuff for Basie and Sinatra and Ella Fitzgerald. And another famous thing about Billy that I love to share that most people don't know, he did more ghostwriting in Hollywood than anybody. And the reason that he got so much work like that was he could do anybody's style, and he could do it about twice as fast as they could.
What do you mean? What do you mean by ghostwriting?
That means Nelson Riddle's got too many arrangements to write. He knows he can call Billy and say, write this arrangement for me, and Nelson will put his name on it, and he knows it'll sound like his writing because Billy can mimic anybody's writing. He did that for Quincy Jones and.
So Nelson Riddle and Quincy Jones are two of the greatest big band arrangers of all time.
That's right.
Are there charts floating around out there that were written by Billy Byers with Nelson and Quincy's name?
A whole bunch of them. And
really?
I found a video on YouTube a couple of years ago, and I wish I could remember the name of the tune. I've looked for it again, couldn't find it. But it's Frank Sinatra, and he's performing live in the video. And as the band plays the intro, he walks out and he says, contrary to what most people think, this chart was written by Billy Byers.
As opposed to
and I'm thinking
Nelson
that it was
Riddle.
Quincy Jones.
As opposed to Quincy Jones.
Yeah, most of the
Really?
Sinatra at the Sands with Basie, most of those are Billy Byers charts.
You got to be kidding me, man. That's we've never had this conversation before, as you know. And that's one of my favorite albums of all time is Sinatra at the Sands. And you're telling me that Billy Byers did those arrangements and not Quincy Jones?
Most of them.
Wow. So
Yeah.
why did Billy Byers not get credit on that album then?
Because he didn't mind doing that.
Yeah.
He just made a lot of money, he wasn't into recognition.
Yeah,
He just wrote great, and he loved it.
Because in that album, Sinatra actually says, as part of the album, ladies and gentlemen, the Count Basie Orchestra conducted by the great Quincy Jones, but it was Billy Byers.
Well, it was conducted by Quincy Jones, but...
well, yeah. Man, you're blowing my mind right now. So, we're talking about Vegas and Sinatra and Basie and Nelson Riddle. Did you spend some time in Vegas?
Yes, quite a bit. I was there from 67 to 73. I had my own band from
glory
California.
years.
Pardon?
The glory years.
Oh, yeah. The best years, golden years
Did you
of Las
see
Vegas.
the mobsters in the suits and the the slick back hair eating pasta and everything, the whole deal? Just like in Goodfellas?
The whole shebang, yeah.
Was it, I'm assuming you've seen Goodfellas and Casino and all the great mob movies. Was it like that? Was it better or was it worse?
I would say for what we saw in Las Vegas, the movie would be an exaggeration, but we did see some of that, and we were very aware of who owned what and who ran what and stuff like that. And we, probably shouldn't talk. We actually got involved in a little. We knew some people. I'll put it that way. But getting back, we even.
No, don't get past that.
Okay.
Who did you know?
I could tell another story, but.
What do you know? How much do you know?
Okay, I'll tell you this quick story because I haven't told this anywhere. But we actually, our manager, who was a wonderful man, really thought we should have made it. We had a great album out, and he finally thought, well, the only way for them to make it is if they sign with somebody that's connected. And we did that, and I'm not going to name any names, but they had us come to New York.
Did it rhyme with, Lamb Giancana?
No, but you're close, and I can tell you this individual was a cellmate of John Gotti's at one time.
Wow, we have that's the John Gotti story. We have our own John Gotti story here at JazzTexas, but that's for another time.
Okay. So we were supposed to go to New York, and we were going to open at the Copacabana with Sammy Davis introducing us, and he was a good friend of ours. And so that was legit, but that didn't happen. So when the day that we arrived, we played a closed-circuit TV special at the Waldorf Astoria, and then a couple days later, we opened for Curtis Mayfield at Madison Square Garden.
Wow!
The day that we arrived in New York, the IRS had a big crackdown on the syndicate, and therefore the person we were supposed to meet with. Wasn't to be seen anywhere.
Wow.
So when we played at Madison Square Garden, we finished our set, and it was an all-black audience, and we were, at that time, 4 Mexicans and 4 white guys. And when we walked out on the stage, there was actually a little grumbling out there. And I'm glad we didn't play any Beach Boys stuff, because we played pretty soulful, funky, bluesy, jazzy stuff, and after about one tune, we had them, and they loved us.
Wow.
And that got us a 2-week gig at Small's Paradise in Harlem.
Wow.
Which was quite an experience. But when we were in the dressing room afterwards, these 4 kind of short, older Italian gentlemen with very rich clothes and fancy coats walked in, and the spokesman said, and I won't use the name, but he said, Mr. So-and-so said he could not be here. He sends his regrets, but you guys sounded great. And they turn around and walk out, and we're all looking at each other going, my God, what have we got ourselves into here?
Why do you think that amongst jazz musicians there's such an infatuation with the mobsters?
You know, I don't know. I think they like musicians. When we played in Hawaii, we played at a hotel there called the Holly Mackay for 5 months, and we met a guy named Sonny Kamaka, who's a wonderful jazz guitarist, but he was connected, and he said, I'm going to send some important people to hear you. And that's who he sent, was the Hawaiian guys.
They had Hawaiian guys.
Oh, yeah. There was no Italians. There was all. And at one time, in the islands, there was about 5 syndicates. There was a Filipino syndicate, the Chinese, Hawaiian, and the Hawaiians were the muscle for the Chinese. And they decided, why should we do that?
Wow.
And so those are the guys we hung out with for a while.
And now...
And they threw a party to welcome us to the islands and treated us like kings.
And now the best we got is Jeff Bezos and Mark Zuckerberg. I tell you what, talk about better times. Well, Jim, I want to talk about your bucket list album, because you have an amazing album out. I've heard parts of it. It's a full big band record with Jacqueline Sotelo on vocals. It sounds amazing. Tell us a little bit about it, and then I want to pull up a clip and let everybody get a little sneak preview of it.
Okay. First of all, I was so lucky that at the university I teach at UIW, because I have this music industry studies program, we got a new music building, we got a recording studio with it. And I was able to recommend a studio designer that I happen to know named Russ Berger, who's one of the best in the world. He did Whitney Houston's home studio, all the studios at Belmont University and Middle State Tennessee University, and presidential libraries, and just all Sweetwater Music, their auditorium, et cetera, et cetera. So they hired him as an acoustician, and he designed a beautiful studio. I was put in charge of hiring equipment, or buying equipment, so I was like a kid in a candy store.
Yeah, yeah.
And I kept thinking they're going to tell me, no, you can't buy this, Jim. It's too expensive. And they just let me, have my way with it. And
How much was the limit on that credit card?
I don't really know. And people ask me for a total figure of the equipment all the time, and I actually don't remember. We've got a 24. Well, I shouldn't say, but at any rate, so we got a great studio, and the guy that installed it is a wonderful engineer named Skip Burrows from Houston. He had his own studio there called Sunrise Sound for about 30 years. He's got gold and platinum records and has recorded everybody. But besides being a great engineer, he's a great technician. He designs audio equipment and repairs it and installs it and all that. So he installed all the equipment for us there, and then he trained me on it, which is wonderful. A regular installation company, they'll install it, and then you're on your own.
Yeah.
So I was so lucky and so blessed, and he and I are now real close friends. And so I knew when I saw that I was going to be able to make the album, I knew I wanted him to engineer it. And I didn't want to play on it except for solos. I wanted to sit there with a score.
Yeah.
And be the producer.
You produced and composed and you played the solos and you wrote the charts and you helped engineer. And I want people to hear this this track because it's amazing and the band sounds so great.
What I did, Skip did all the tracking of the full-size big band, and all we did was leave out the vocals and the solos. I tracked all the solos and I tracked all of Jacqueline's vocals, and then Skip mixed the whole thing.
Well, let's pull it up. Chris, can we pull up the clip of Jacqueline singing Baby, Why Don't You Do Right?
Well, I fell for your job and I took you in. Now all you've got to offer me's a drink. 'Cause Jen, why don't you do right like some other men do? Well, get on out of here and give me some money. I want some money, money. Oh, why don't you do like some other men do? I want money too.
Jacqueline just killed that.
Yeah, she did. That's a track called Why Don't You Do Right? Jim, is that a rhetorical question?
Could be. And I have to say, Jacqueline was my student for about 4 years.
Wow.
She sang with the jazz ensemble, which I direct, and we got to play at the Montreux Jazz Festival in 2009, and she went with us, and she knocked them dead over there.
Yeah,
They
she's
loved
amazing.
her, no surprise.
Yeah, yeah. Well, so the next question, where can we get the album?
It's on all the stream. It's self-released. I use CD Baby, and they have it on most of the streaming platforms: Apple Music, Amazon, iTunes, Deezer, YouTube, et cetera, et cetera. Easy to find in those places. For listening quality, I suggest Apple Music or iTunes because they mastered for iTunes version, which is higher resolution and really sounds good. There should be CDs any day available on Amazon.com, and there will be vinyl available maybe in a month, maybe 2 months, I don't know.
Yeah.
The pressing plant has had problems. Not only some of their presses are down, but because of COVID-19, they're having trouble getting wax.
Yeah, yeah. Well, vinyl pressing plants have been down. They've had delivery problems before COVID.
Yeah.
For some reason, it was like a 10-week wait to get vinyl before. So now you can only imagine. Now it's like like 10
Several
months or
months, yeah.
something like that. So, but keep an eye out for it. Jim Waller, Bucket List. It's a beautiful album, full big band with Jacqueline Sotelo on the vocals, and you're going to want to check it out. You can get it on Spotify or iTunes or Apple Music now, but wait for the CDs, wait for the vinyl. They're coming out soon. Jim, I'm super proud of you guys. I mean, you guys had some legendary sessions, man. Those are some hard charts.
Oh, yeah.
And you got the best of the best in San Antonio to get together in the studio and record those charts, so good on you.
Well, thank you. And I was very blessed to have these wonderful musicians, some of whom you have here occasionally.
Yeah, yeah.
In fact,
occasionally.
the other night you had Jason Galbraith, and he was on the album.
Yeah, we brought Jason on the program. We weren't able to find anybody else to come on. Everyone else we called was unavailable. No,
I would
Jason's
think any musician would jump at any chance right now.
No, Jason's he's such a good buddy of ours. We're so happy to play with him. But we're so happy to have you on the program, Jim. Let's play some more music. We talked about playing a tune by Sonny Rollins called St. Thomas.
Sounds good.
So without further ado, let's get to some music, and we're going to turn it over to Brandon back there on the drums.
Sounds good.
And away we go. That's Sonny Rollins, St. Thomas, Jim Waller on the tenor saxophone. We're going to have Jim back in just a little bit. Thank you so much for being on the program, Jim.
Thank you for having me.
Hey, it's a pleasure. We'll see you in just a minute.
All right.
It's that time of year again, ladies and gentlemen. We're all cooped up in our homes on a Saturday night. We've got this pandemic going on. Who knows how long it'll last and when it will end. But we've got you covered here at Jazz Texas because we've decided to create a fun little game you can play with right along from the comfort of your own living room. A little game called the board game. And without further ado, let's play the board game. So by now, we're on episode number 41 here of the Doc Watkins Show, so you probably know by now already how the board game works. We like to pick two famous people and or mammals and or birds, both of whom are pretty boring, compare and contrast them both, and at the end of the game, I get to decide who's the biggest bore. So tonight on the board game, who's more boring, Ryan Gosling or a Gosling? Well, on the one hand, a gosling is a young bird of any of several waterfowl species in the goose family, comprising the genera Bronta, the black geese, chen, the white geese, and the vodka, gray goose. Goslings have been on Earth for 65 million years, almost as long as Betty White. The male goose is called gander. The female goose is referred to as mother goose, and the gender-confused gosling is referred to as they. Goslings can fly as fast as 65 kilometers an hour, which means a baby geese is faster on a highway than a Toyota Corolla hybrid. Well, on the other hand, Ryan Gosling is a Canadian actor. Compared to goslings, which mostly feed on grasses, berries, seeds, sedges, eelgrass, blueberries, and algae, Ryan Gosling is a vegan health nut who mostly feeds on grasses, berries, seeds, sedges, eelgrass, blueberries, and algae. After eating an awesome meal, Ryan Gosling decided to open up his own Moroccan restaurant in Beverly Hills, which almost bankrupted him, proving once again that Hollywood actors are idiots. Ryan Gosling also gave himself a tattoo, which was supposed to be a bloody monster's hand, but looks more like a cactus, proving that Ryan Gosling's talents as a tattoo artist pretty much equal his talents at running a restaurant. Ryan Gosling says the worst thing you could call him is a dumb hipster, which is probably why he doesn't mind me calling him a forgettable actor. It's a tough call, ladies and gentlemen, but if you had to pick who bores you the most, a Gosling or Ryan Gosling, the correct answer is Ryan Gosling. And thanks for playing the board game. Back to the music. I'm going to do an old tune called Willow Weep for Me. That's Willow Weep for Me. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. Mike Porter on the bass, Brandon Guerra on the drums, and we'd like to welcome Jim Waller back to the stage to close out the program for us on this Saturday night. We're going to do a tune entitled All the Things You Are. Here goes.
Could we possibly change that to Days of Wine and Roses?
Absolutely.
I have a little trouble with the low end.
Yeah, key of F?
Yeah.
All right, so quick change. We're going to change that up to the Days of Wine and Roses, a beautiful Henry Mancini tune. Hope you enjoy it. What tempo you want to do it at, Jim? Why don't you count it off? You got it, man.
Get a little vamp on the 5.
You got it. That's Brandon Guerra on the drums, Mike Porter on the bass, and our special guest tonight. We're honored to have the great Jim Waller in the house. Thank you so much for tuning in tonight. Once again, Caitlin Hill on the audio, and Chris Zients on the Wizard Broadcasting. Make sure and check us out on October 10th at the AT&T Center. We'll be doing an outdoor concert. Check it out at attcenter.com. We cannot wait after 6 months to play a live show for you all, so come and see us then. We'll be back in the meantime on Tuesday night at 8 o'clock Texas time. Come check us out live streaming here from Jazz Texas. Thank you so much for tuning in. We'll see you next time, and good night.